My name is Veanna Shaw, and I'll be talking to y'all about child abuse. "10 days doesn't seem like a long time, but for 4-year-old Tegan Skyler, 10 days was probably the longest days of her short life. In July 2010, for 10 days, she was tortured and sexually abused. For 10 long days, she was bitten, scratched, beaten, raped by her mother's boyfriend. She was forced to live in a shed amongst feces, urine, partially eaten food, and trash. She was finally taken to the hospital in Johnston County on July 16, 2010. But by then, it was too late. The doctors that treated her said that when she arrived, they got physically ill because her body was so badly bruised and bitten. She had 66 bite marks on her. She had so many bruises that they couldn't even count them. Even the nurses, they were crying and stuff trying to save her. Because when she got there, she was unconscious and her mother was nowhere in sight. And then her mother's boyfriend said that she fell off the bed and that's how she got hurt. Sadly, this happens too many times. Child abuse is rampant in and outside of America. So often we don't even realize that it's happening right under our noses until a situation like Tegan's happens, and by then it's too late. If we as a society were more knowledgeable of the signs of child abuse, then incidents like this could be prevented almost 100%. What is child abuse? Child abuse is defined as any recent act or failure to act on the part of the parent, guardian, or caretaker of a child that results in death or serious physical or emotional harm, sexual abuse, or exploitation. There are many different types of child abuse, but most of them fall into 4 categories. The 4 main categories are sexual abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse, and neglect. Sexual abuse is any sexual act between an adult and a child. For example, fondling, penetration, intercourse, pornography, prostitution, forced observation of sexual acts. Physical abuse is any non-accidental injury to a child. For example, hitting, kicking, slapping, shaking, burning, pinching, hair pulling, biting, choking, all of that stuff. Psychological abuse is any attitude or behavior which interferes with the child's mental health or sense of self-worth. For example, name-calling, shaming, negative comparisons to others, failure to provide affection. And lastly, neglect. Neglect is the failure to provide for a child's basic needs. For example, inappropriate housing or shelter, inadequate food and water, inappropriate clothing for the right season, like for winter they have shorts or flip-flops, crazy stuff like that. Abandonment, even denial of medical care is considered neglect. When a child is abused, they are often affected When a child is abused, they are often affected well into their adult lives. The main areas that falls under are physical, psychological, and behavioral. The physical effects of child abuse are often the most easily recognized when abuse is suspected. That's because we can see them with our eyes. Most often, they go from minor cuts and bruises, bites and scratches, to the more major injuries that include breaks in bones, fractures, severe head trauma, and even death. Physical effects are often what calls attention to possible child abuse in many situations. Psychological effects of child abuse are cognitive difficulties, difficulties during infancy, and social difficulties. So Some of those social difficulties are apathy, depression, eating disorders, lack of concentration in school. Lastly, behavioral effects of child abuse are also commonly noticed, but the cause is often misdiagnosed, especially if there's no knowledge of the abuse. Behaviorally, the abused child will display juvenile delinquency and often alcohol and drug abuse. As adults, we should also condition ourselves to notice these symptoms of child abuse. Knowing what to look for makes it that much easier to save a child from abuse. After the abuse has been identified, and stopped, there are actions that can be taken to help prevent future abuse. Prevention is the key to Prevention is the solution to child abuse. There are many approaches to prevention of child abuse. One way that is being approached now is by going through the school system. Schools are now offering after-school programs so that parents that need a break, like for children that are prevention in schools, help for at-risk families, and crisis nurseries are ways to prevent child abuse. Child abuse has been on the rise in recent years. And as adults, we must become knowledgeable of the signs so that we may prevent them. Prevention is the only way to save our children from abuse now and in the future. It is reported that 30% of all child abuse victims will become adults who abuse their children. Let's all come together and help stop this terrible cycle. That's it.
Is that the little girl that that the man is on trial now? Okay.
How long she was kidnapped before they found her?
Well, she wasn't kidnapped. Her mom was going to do military training to get into the Army, and she left her with her boyfriend, and she knew they were going to be living in a shed. So,
do you think he deserves to die?
amongst other things, yes, he definitely deserves to die. Because anybody that can do that to a 4-year-old child, they deserve something worse than death.
Now, did the mother know that it was going on, or did she just know that he was beating the little girl or whipping her?
Well, from all the news accounts, they're saying that the mother didn't know about the sexual abuse, but he's also saying that she okayed him to like physically abuse her, like to hit her and stuff like that. He said that she said it was okay. She's denying it, but.
Do you believe she should be charged?
Yes. She should be charged just on the sole base of the fact that she left her daughter, 4 years old, to stay with her boyfriend knowing they'd be living in a shed. Because she knew that part.